What is up, bros? Josh here, and today's video is on a topic that comes up a lot, especially with German battleships, even some of the Royal Navy battleships. And yes, we're playing everyone's favorite Tier 9 battleship, the Friedrich Der Grosse, and this is one that I am going through right now for our Road to Tier 10 series. I'm going to put a link down below. It's a series where we go over every line of World of Warships, and we go from the lowest tier all the way to the highest tier, do a redo on a new account, and kind of see if we learn anything new. And one of the things that is kind of I'm learning a bit more is on the Freddy. So we're going through this line again, getting to the GK. Now, as a lot of you know, if you've gone through this line, this one is what would be called a hurdle ship. And a hurdle ship is one that tends to be relatively poopy, and it's a tough one to play, and the Freddy is definitely that. But this is one that has the conversation of which types of shell to use, because this is a ship that offers two separate shell types, or shell sizes, I should say. And a couple of the Royal Navy ones have as well, like the Conqueror. They have some bigger shells. The GK as well has the same options. So the Freddy has an option of the 406 millimeters and the 420 millimeters. Same with the Grosse first. And so the question comes up a lot: which one do I choose? Which one are you using? And this is a kind of one I really wanted to test as I was going back through this, and really it was quite surprising. And this is one of the things that I love about this series, is going through and relearning other things, and kind of just straight up learning new things about ships that I thought I knew a decent amount about. And just a heads up, this ammo type, whatever you choose, will not affect the accuracy of the ship. Now we have gone full main battery build, basically, if you want to call it. A lot of people ask if I'm full secondaries. No, I did take aiming mod, so my secondary range is only 9.6. But with how the Freddy works, in my opinion, you're going to want a little bit more. You're going to want the main batteries to be as good as possible. Secondary builds are pretty tough at high tiers, and we definitely aren't running it. But the conversation of which shell size do you use? And I was completely on the team of 406s. If you ask me what shell type I would still use even after I've played the Freddy, I would say, or somebody asked me, I would still say the 406s. And one of the main reasons is the accuracy of the ships. So I think the GK is much more accurate. I know a lot of people think it's not very accurate. I would consider it fairly accurate. It has a good reload, and I think it's just overall a pretty solid ship. The Freddy, though, not so much. You have one less shell per turret going out there, and really what I kind of thought and kind of learned is you just want to buff up the shells. You're not going to be hitting mini shells. It's kind of sad. This is not a ship that's really going to be able to carry games that well, or that consistently, I would say. And so my whole thought process behind picking this shell size, so if you're wondering, I go with the 420s instead of the 406s. I played about half of games with each, and I think my average damage has increased about 10,000 plus. I think we're getting pretty close to about a 15,000 increase on this. We'll probably get that before we get through the ship. I think we were at about an 83,000 damage average on what the 406 is, 84, somewhere around there, and we're up into the mid 90s. And I think at this rate we'll probably be near 100,000 average damage, which I would consider relatively good for a tier 9 battleship, especially one like this. But I found that the 420s just produced way more. So what do you give up for the 406s to the 420s? Well, bigger caliber means longer reload. Now I am using the main battery reload module in the last slot, so that will speed this up so the values may be a little bit different if you're using maybe the secondary reload or AA. But the reload for 406s for this ship was 22.9 seconds, which is quite fast for a battleship, and that also doesn't include adrenaline rush. But when I take the 420s, I go to a 25.5, which is still pretty solid. But my whole mentality about this ship was, I'm not going to be hitting mini shells, but when I hit those shells, I want them to hit as much as possible and as hard as possible. So when you are taking the 406s, your Citadel damage is going to be 12,700, and you're not going to get as many as you see right there. Probably another battleship that may have been a dev strike, but it's the Freddy life, so we'll take what we can get. But also with the 420s, with that longer reload, you do get a bigger Citadel damage. The alpha damage is just higher at 13,500. So normally, if I was playing, let's say, the Grosse first, I would go with the 406s. I feel like 406s for that type of ship are plenty good. The only downside you're going to have is maybe against more angled targets, maybe thicker armor, but the the GK is way more reliable than the Freddy is. That's kind of the whole process that I kind of consider, and when I was thinking of making this video, that's what I'm basically doing. Is I am just taking, this ship doesn't hit very often, but when it does, I want it to, you know, perfect example of a Freddy salvo right there. A little bit in front, a little bit behind. That's the Freddy life. So it's a lot of me randomly staring at the camera when we're streaming this all live on twitch.tv. Come check us out. But it has turned into a ship that was very kind of, you kind of pull your hair out, you'd miss a lot of salvos, and then once we switched over to the 420s, I just noticed I started getting more damage. I don't know if it was placebo effect, and so we played plenty of games with it, and it really was consistent. You can even see the average damage of the ship as I've continued to play it just continue to increase. The 420s I do highly recommend. Now this is a relatively tough grind. The Freddy is by any means not that strong of a ship. I would consider it pretty low. Now it is situationally good. You know, fairly late game it's pretty good because it has sonar against DDs, you know, stuff like that. But I've noticed I started getting more and more citadels when it came to the 420s compared to the 406s. But yeah, the Freddy isn't overly strong, so I figured I wanted to buff the very few hits I was getting with as much damage as possible. Then the 420s just felt better. I really like, when it comes to battleships, getting that reload as fast as possible. That's why I would still stick with the GK, with the smaller calibers. Same thing with like the Conqueror. The Conqueror has a shell type option that you can go with a larger or smaller shell. I always tend to go with smaller shells when it comes to battleships because they basically punish everything more, besides maybe bowing targets or some really armored battleships. But this one though, I felt like the 420s were just much better. I felt like they were extremely strong compared, and we were just getting better results. Again though, this is not going to make the ship more accurate. It's not a miracle pill, if you want, for the Freddy. The Freddy is still going to be a tough ship to get through. It is definitely one I highly recommend saving some free XP for. I'll talk about this in the Road to Tier 10 video as well. I highly recommend saving some free XP to get this thing fully upgraded. At least the range module, maybe the hull upgrade, and I definitely would save up a little bit more to get through the ship a little bit easier. I still am not, people always ask me, should I use free XP to skip through ships? I still, to this day, I would not use free XP to skip through ships, but I would use free XP to fully upgrade a ship, or upgrade a ship to the part that it's kind of stuck. Grinding through a ship isn't a bad part, but grinding through a stock ship is pretty miserable from times. But the Freddy is definitely one that it would be worth saving up a little bit of free XP, like 100k or whatever, to just at least get some decent upgrades for this thing. But right here you can see kind of the Freddy in its little zone. Freddy at range isn't super good because it's just not very consistent, but Freddy within close quarters is quite good and quite strong. You're going to see it do some work as we just keep on stacking some citadels here on our 4th citadel. And it was really, I wouldn't say it quite was like it flipped the switch, if you will, changing from the 406s to the 420s, but it definitely was something that was noticeable almost instantly. At the first couple games, I'm like, okay, maybe it was a fluke, maybe it was something that, all right, maybe I'm just getting to learn the ship a little bit more. That's something that I was constantly thinking of too, is okay, maybe the ship is just starting to click. But really, this ammo type did help a lot. And when you're doing more damage, you're winning more games. When you're winning more games, you're getting more XP. And when you're getting more XP, you're getting through ships faster. So that is definitely something that I would highly recommend as I get stuck on apparently a underwater reef that you can't see here. I was a bit bummed, and don't worry, it's not the first time we're gonna get stuck here. But this is something that I do highly recommend. You're gonna be able to get a little bit more favor on angled ships. You're gonna be able to get a little bit more overpen action, or overmatch, sorry. And you're gonna be able to just punish more, and by getting just purely higher alpha damage, higher alpha salvos. Now, you're still going to get Freddy shots, so just be ready for that. But I just noticed I was getting more citadels. I was getting more big salvos. I was just being able to punish players that were broadside more. I don't know what it is about the 406s, but I felt like either I was getting a mediocre salvo, or I was getting something like overpens for some reason with the smaller caliber. The 406s, I felt like on the Freddy, were just so inconsistent compared to the bigger shells. At least this, you're kind of guaranteed that alpha damage. With the lower caliber, it was this kind of weird bipolar, if you will, shell, because it just never really punished to the same amount, and also would give you this weird it would overmatch more than anything. So this one comes up a lot though, and I do kind of like the kind of like the topic. I tend to like quantity when it comes to battleships. Again, like stuff like the GK. GK is always the one I'm going to refer to. Is I like that reload. I like the consistency of the GK, but also the GK just has more shells going out, so you're going to be able to consistently hit shells more. So I like that ability to just keep pumping out damage faster and faster and faster. With the Freddy though, with only having 8 shells that are very inconsistent, getting those few shell hits is something that I highly recommend using the 420s over. Now it will take a little bit more XP to unlock these. It is basically the hull upgrade, and then there is a gun option that it will, so it is a little bit more, and it does cost a few million credits on top of that. But I think just playing throughout the ship, if you continue to play throughout the ship, you will earn that back just by pumping out damage. As we all know, credits are earned based off of how much damage you do. So the more damage, the more money, and the more money, the more good things in this game. So definitely having that little bit extra output from the ship is definitely shown to be something that pays off. Again, 6 citadels in the game, really not too bad. This is something that isn't quite ordinary. Now the damage is all right, it's nothing to write home about, but overall the damage is pretty decent, and this is something that I've definitely noticed. Again, I think about 12 or 13,000 average damage increase on this. Was very, very noticeable. The production of the ship has gone up a lot for me, and I feel more comfortable. I feel like I can, yes, you are still tied, your hands are tied by Freddy dispersion, but it is something that you are not quite like I don't even know really the way to say it. It's just a bit, you can rely on it a bit more instead of just getting awkward 4 overpens when it comes to the 406s. So I do highly recommend checking this out. If you are going through the Freddy, I know we've kind of all gone through. This is hashtag just Freddy things. It's something that we kind of all go through when you're going through this line. Now the GK definitely is worth it. You will also get wonky salvos right there. Like, I don't know how that was a kill, but you know, that's just hashtag Freddy things. So let me know in the comments below if you have gone through the Freddy. I know the German line is very, very popular, so I know a lot of people have gone through it. If you have, what did you use? Did you try the 420s? Did you 6 with the 406s? And what was your opinion there? I'd be really interested to see what you guys picked, either the 406s or the 420s. But again, my recommendation, check out the 420s. They definitely are worth it. The 406s, the stats look okay on them, but in the end, I think it's just better to take the bigger guns and get that bigger damage on those salvos, because, you know, a good salvo on a Freddy is once in a blue moon, and you really, really want them to count. So anyways, guys, wanted to just give you a nice little thought. We're grinding through the Freddy a lot on Twitch. We're going to be getting hopefully the GK by the end of this week, so I'm very excited about that. Love that tier 10 German battleship. And then we'll finalize of the road to tier 10 for the German battleships will be done, and I'll be posting that video too. But anyways, guys, that's it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Remember to like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.